Hey guys, welcome back to Believe in Eagles. I'm your host, Leigh Mayock, and joining us once again, former front office GM, current amateur wannabe golfer, my dad, Mike Mayock. Woo!
Hi, honey.
Welcome in, Dad. How you doing?
I'm good. What does your hat say? I'm trying to
Thank you so much for asking. It actually says favorite
favorite
daughter.
daughter.
And not only is it a brand, it's also my brand.
Really?
You know?
What
Like,
does
that's
it
kind of
make?
my thing. Like,
What does it make?
oh, clothes, hats, bags. It's like it's really good fashion brand. Yeah.
Is
I'm
there a
obsessed with it.
is there a company called Only Daughter?
I feel like no. But honestly, sometimes I don't think that that's fair because an only daughter should still get to feel the love and prioritization and like good feelings of being the favorite too. You know what I mean? Because just because I'm only doesn't mean that I don't need to also hear that I'm favorite.
You want a pat on the back?
Honestly, yeah.
You are my favorite daughter, honey.
Thank you. Thank you so
Well,
much. Wait,
I
guess
want
what?
to, what?
I have news. I have officially been converted into sports betting.
Okay.
Do you want to know why?
Yes.
I was introduced to Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Like the in-game bets are a absolute thrill. Do you think you know your stuff, or are you like me and kind of an amateur? Get in on their $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of the 200K. And then when the game's over, fun's not, head on over to their online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of their over 150 slot games. So head on over to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. Boom.
Wow. You know, it's amazingly because, I mean, it's exploded. I hear people talk all the time about stuff. I mean, it used to be kind of you weren't even allowed to talk about it in the NFL. Now it's exploded, and it's become. So you hear people all the time. Where was I? A couple of weeks ago, I was grabbing something to eat at a bar, and the game was on, and people were talking about, oh, I got to get something down on, so and so. I think he's going to score, and I'm just like, it's amazing, really is.
It's really fun. I mean, it's like I said, it's a thrill to me, and what I've realized is that it keeps you watching boring games because you have some type of vested interest in some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
but I'm new, so I have a lot to learn.
It keeps you watching teams that are not just your home team. Also, it's
Right.
pretty amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you learn a little bit of everything.
Yep.
If you want my picks, I'll give them to you offline.
I'm good, but thank you.
Okay. Well, you and I were texting during the Eagles game last week, but we haven't really discussed. Here we are again talking about a disappointing Eagles performance. What the heck happened in Tampa Bay?
Boy, so frustratingly because the offense can't get a fast start in any game. I forget the stat, but they might be the only team that hasn't scored a touchdown on their opening drive yet. It's frustrating to watch. Last week against Tampa Bay, they came out 3 and out, punt with 1 run. Now they're down 7-0. Get the ball again. 3 and out, punt, 1 run. Punt. Then on the punt return, they get a muff, and it wasn't Cooper DeJean's problem. Somebody bumped into him from his own team, which happened twice. They lose the ball. Tampa Bay scores again. It's 21-0. They get the ball back. They go 3 and out, and they don't run the ball at all. So they've had 3 possessions. They've thrown the football 7 times, passed it twice, 3 consecutive 3 and outs with punts. and all of a sudden the score is 24-0 and you're out of the game. So it's not obviously all on the offense.
Right.
Defense didn't stop anybody. The defensive numbers are bad on the season in general, but on paper, it looks like they're running the ball a lot. Like Saquon Barkley's been explosive. He's been everything Eagle fans hoped he would be, except the one drop. And I put that on the coaching staff anyway, back against Atlanta. But at the end of the day, even though what are they in the run game? They're fourth in the league. They're fifth in the league per carry. But I think they've got to make sure that they take pressure off the quarterback, especially when you don't have any wideouts. Your wideouts are all beat up. Run Saquon Barkley. Take care of the football. Play action. Let Jalen Hurts take over with his legs. I mean, offensively, they've turned the ball over, I think, 8 times on the season. I think Jalen Hurts 7 of the 8. Jalen Hurts has got to stop turning the ball over, and they've got to run the ball all the time, not just when they have to run the football.
So when you're in a game like that,
yeah,
what confused me is exactly what you said. It just they kept doing the same things over, and it wasn't working on both sides of the ball, right?
Well, it can just snowball quickly, like it did, to your point.
So how shouldn't coaches adjust to what they're seeing, to what they're going up against when they got blitzed out of control and they couldn't do anything about it? How do you adjust when those things are happening?
Well, I mean, that's part of coaching. And I was frustrated watching the game because I felt like really soon, like it's 14-0 before you blink. And I'm thinking, okay, we got to cool these guys off a little bit. If you're the Eagles, you got to cool them off. How do you do that? You let that big offensive line lean on their defensive line, and you got to squeeze out a first down or two. It's like 100 degrees, and you're putting your defense back on the field, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Football's a complementary game, and even if you want to throw the ball a bunch, you got to calm Tampa Bay down. You got to give your defense a chance to rest a little bit, and maybe your best football player plays running back. So your offensive, I think, even if they expect you to run the football, I'd much rather have 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 rather than 2 incomplete passes, and now it's 3rd and 10. Okay, so I just believe that had they tried to cool him off quickly, get the ball in his hands, let those offensive linemen get off the line, let Saquon come downhill, let Jalen run a planned quarterback run, but get it to 3rd and 2 or sneak in a first down with 2 5-yard runs. But don't just sit there and keep throwing the football. Bad things are happening when you throw the football, especially last week when they didn't have any wideouts.
Right.
So that's what I think. I was sitting there in real time getting frustrated that they weren't calming things down with the run game.
Okay, and then you mentioned the Cooper DeJean returns when he got basically knocked over / tackled by his own teammates. Yeah. What was that? What happened? I was so confused.
It's bad awareness on the punt return team. And when you're blocking, especially when you're a gunner and a jammer, you're blocking those wide guys, you're double teaming them or single teaming them. You're usually the first guy down. You've got to be aware peripherally of where your punt returner is. And I used to have to do that. I was a jammer, and you have to know where your punt returner is at all times, because the number one cardinal sin is ball on the ground. How does the ball get in the ground? Either the returner fumbles it, which it wasn't DeJean, or somebody bumps him or he fumbles. You can't allow your own team to get jacked into the punt returner. I mean, you got to be aware of where he is all the time. And what killed me is it happened twice.
I know.
I mean, it's all 3 phases of the Eagles team let them down in the first half in a catastrophic fashion. And that's why they were down 24-0 before you knew it.
Yeah, that's brutal. So I feel like when the schedule came out, we all looked at it and we were like, oh, week 5 bye, that is too early. But now everyone was like, thank God we have a week 5 bye. Not only for the injuries, everyone's hurt and trying to get better, but also just the overall vibe and mood of the team and the locker room and the media talking about it, the players talking back to the media. It was becoming kind of a hot mess. You've been there before, going into a bye, coming off of a loss and a hot mess in general.
Yeah,
A couple times maybe.
Yeah.
How does, from a team perspective, how do you regroup and use that bye to the best of your looking forward? What does a bye week look like?
Yeah.
Right now for the Eagles.
It's a good question, Leigh, because the bye did come at a good time in hindsight, and I like late buys, so I kind of hated this bye preseason. But here's what they have to do, and I'm sure they are doing, is there's got to be conversations at the highest level, starting with Howie and Nick, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. And the conversations have to be a combination of both personnel. Like, give you an example. Where's Cooper DeJean been? Okay. He played 1 snap of the 77 defensive snaps last week. 2nd round pick. He got hurt in camp, which slowed him down. But now, this is just an example. Right. Howie and Nick and Vic Fangio have got to be going there. Okay. Do we believe in this kid's talent? And if we do, now's the time to integrate him into our defense. And if so, where? Is he our nickel? Is he going to take over for Maddox? If Blankenship is hurt, he was down last week.
Yeah.
Are they going to try and get DeJean in there and play for him? It's a 2nd round pick, a really talented kid. The conversation has to be, is now the time to get him in the game. So that's kind of point number 1. There's a personnel conversation going on between both sides of the building about everybody who's played well, who's played poorly. Okay. There's a self-scout mechanism going on with some of the kind of lower level coaches on offense, scouting their own offense, and the same thing on defense. What are we doing well? What are we doing poorly? I saw Kellen Moore quoted earlier in the week, like, we got to get started more quickly, and that's on me. And he's right. So he's got to have a plan for when they come out against Cleveland next week, and they got to get points on the board. It's critical that they get some confidence amongst the offensive players. Okay. I'm ignoring the injury piece of it because you already talked about it, right?
Yeah.
But there's got to be a plan. And now, okay, so Howie's involved with the personnel side of it. Who gets more play time? Who gets less play time? I'm sure Howie's heavily involved, but then it gets down to the coaches. Okay. What do we got to do? What have we done well on offense? What have we done well on defense? What have we done poorly? How do we change it? So we've talked a lot about offense, but on defense, man, statistically, they're pretty low everywhere. Can't stop the runs, can't stop the pass. They're not disruptive. How do you get Bryce Huff going? You just paid, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
You just paid all this money for the guy. He hasn't had a sniff of a quarterback. So, the front, Brandon Graham has played really well and played more snaps. But Brandon Graham.
Did you see Brandon Graham said, don't think this might not be his last year. He said he might run it back another year.
Well, it's interesting because he's playing a way higher percentage of snaps than I thought. I saw him interviewed a week or two ago. He's got gray in his beard. I don't know. What is he, 36 years old or something? And I don't know if he'll wear down, Leigh. He's whatever he is, 36 years old. He's playing a lot of snaps. And Zach Bond is playing well. I mean, Jalen Carter can be spectacular. He's also playing really well. I mean, he's played a ton of snaps, but they got to get some pressure off the edge. They got to keep those defensive tackles playing, especially Carter at a high level. And the back end is a little bit of a hot mess. I mean, Darius Slay's 32 or 3. They got a rookie at the other side, Quinyon Mitchell. Maddox is up and down. Blankenship has played well, but he's hurt. So I think defensively, they got to be looking at all of that and saying, what do we do to get better? Is it a personnel thing? Are we going to get Cooper DeJean in? Is it scheme? The only thing they're doing well on defense is the red zone. It could be a lot worse. I think they're number 9 in the league in red zone. So I think what the conversation has to be, honey, the quick overview is kind of like, okay, we don't start well on offense. We turn the ball, going back to last year, we turn the ball over on offense more than we generate turnovers on defense. It's been 12 games in a row where the Eagles haven't won a turnover battle. They're 4-8 in those games. You don't win in the You don't win in the NFL that way. So how do we create more turnovers on defense? How do we get more pressure on the quarterback on defense? How do we take care of Jalen Hurts? I saw a stat the other day. He's averaging over 3 seconds before the ball's out of his hands. That's bad. As a matter of fact, it's 32nd, last in the league. So they got to protect him better. He's got to get the ball out.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you know how long first in the league is, just to get an idea? Like how many seconds?
Yeah, and that's a good question, but you want it out in 2.5. So that's about somewhere in the middle. So the teams closer to 2 seconds are good. The teams at 3 seconds are the worst in the league. And that's a very small difference of 1 second, but it means a lot, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they got to stop turning the ball over on offense, and that starts with Jalen Hurts. He's got to get the ball out of his hands. That starts with him and Kellen Moore helping it get out of his hands. And even if they're not healthy at wideout, they got to run the ball, play action, let Hurts run a little bit. They just got to do a better job on offense, orchestrating the ball out of his hands and running the football and taking pressure off the quarterback. So that's a long way of saying that, I've watched a bunch of their tape. I looked at all their stats, and your question is a really good one. They're spending a lot of time. I'm betting the coaches are in the building all night long. Some of them aren't getting home till 2 a.m. And there's some of the, I'm sure, input from Howie on the personnel side, like how do we get Bryce Huff going? Is Cooper DeJean going to play? Any of the other young guys we drafted? Where is Nolan Smith from Georgia? He can't get a sniff of the quarterback. So that's way too long, but that's what's going on in the building.
No, that was my question. Did you ever have a bye when things were going well?
I can't remember.
And the only reason I'm asking is because I'm wondering, do the coaches, when things are things are going well, you're happy with everything, the bye comes at a good time for everyone, do the coaches and front office and personnel guys get a break?
So we were the year, 21, when Gruden got fired. Mm-hmm. We were 3-2, and Richie took over, and we beat Denver and we beat Philly to go 5-2, and we were rolling a little bit and feeling good and getting healthy, and we had a bye week at 5-2. Okay, so we're 5-2, we're feeling good, we're getting healthy. Richie's doing a great job, and we come back the Monday after the bye week, and the players all have Tuesday off. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them go out Monday night, and that was the night Henry Ruggs went out with his girlfriend and went to Top Golf and ended up killing that woman in a car accident at 4 a.m. or whatever.
That was coming off a bye. I didn't realize that.
It was coming off a bye week, and we were all fired up and feeling really good about where we were heading. And we went to play the Giants that week, and we were awful. And of course we would be. Players were punched in the gut about Henry Ruggs and what had happened and that poor woman.
Yeah.
So it took us, I think we lost 4 or 5 of our next 6 games.
Wasn't like our whole family at the Giants game too? I wasn't there because I was on the West Coast, but I just remember, I think you had like a box full of our family since it was on the East Coast, and it was just a disastrous.
It was a hard week because I was fired up. I was fired up to go home and be 5-2 and beat the Giants, the team I played for, a busload of people coming to the game from the Mayock family and friends. You know how I wore those those visor hats.
The Jeff caps.
Yeah.
The Peaky Blinders.
Yeah. Michael and all his boys were wearing them just as a kind of, so there was a lot of good vibes there, except for the fact that what happened with Henry Ruggs and everything. Right. And that was a tough day. And so that's what I remember.
Just in terms of the players in the locker room during a bye, are you pretty much leaving them alone? Aside from people who need treatment or whatever, are you just letting them have their bye, leaving them alone, and we'll see you on Monday?
You're going to practice a couple times during the week with what you're allowed to practice based on the NFL rules. But basically, they're going to get an extended time frame to go home. And Richie, I remember the night before they left, Richie did a great job with an overview for them about what was at stake, being at 5-2 and being careful when they were all in their free time. Take care of their families, their girlfriends, do what you got to do, but let's be smart about it. And that was the irony, is they were all smart. They all came back on time because they all disappear. They go home,
Right. That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Unless they're there for a reason, or unless they live there or they need treatment, etc. So you're just kind of holding your breath, and they all came back and there were no problems. And it was actually, the next night. But to your point, the players get some time off.
Okay, yeah. A lot of I wouldn't say a lot. A couple of the Eagles players are sending their time off on social media, going on podcasts. Did you see Darius Leigh on Micah Parsons' podcast?
Well, I didn't see or hear about it, but I think they're probably buddies. Didn't they used to work out together or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're fun. It's just, there's been a lot of social media activity from players in general, which actually brings me to the next thing I wanted to ask you about. Devonte Adams, Antonio Pierce, and the Raiders. Okay. Obviously, Devonte Adams requested a trade. Things have seemed kind of tumultuous since he's been there, I would say. I think they kind of tried to keep a lid on things, and what's it called when you're on the same front together?
United.
Thank you. A united front.
Did you graduate from Penn State, or did you just go there?
I did. Okay. So obviously, again, the Raiders building, what goes on there. Antonio Pierce, a player's coach, people would say. Devonte Adams, one of the best wideouts in the league. What do you think's going on there? What happened? What was that? Why did it combust?
Well, I think you got to go back to the beginning when they traded for him. Gave up a lot to get him. And the genesis of that is that Devonte Adams wanted to play with Derek Carr. They were college teammates at Fresno State, and they're really good friends. So he wanted to come play with Derek, and that's facilitated the trade. The player wanted out of Green Bay at that point. He wanted to come to the Raiders. The Raiders gave away a whole lot of things to get him there. And then a year later, the Raiders basically get rid of Derek Carr. So if you're Devonte Adams, how you feeling?
Well, so I'm confused by that because other people are saying, Devonte Adams asked for Derek Carr to be benched. I'm like, do you really think that would be the case? I don't. Right.
I don't either. And
right. So and then to be Devonte Adams without the quarterback he came there to be with, and then you have a place in the draft to go after a quarterback, or you can trade they could have gotten him a more significant quarterback, right?
I don't agree with that.
Oh, okay. Then tell me.
I don't think there's any way in the world Chicago at number 1, Washington at number 2, and especially those two, because I thought the two best quarterbacks were Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Okay. Right. There's no way in the world they were going to trade number 1 or number 2, no matter what you offered them. Okay. So at that point, and I don't know if New England at 3 was going to give up on Drake May. So
Okay.
I don't know where the Raiders could have gotten to this year to get him. They couldn't have gotten one of the two top guys, and I'm guessing they couldn't have got Drake May either. But
okay, but
I think
what about what about the veterans, instead of Gardner Minshew?
I think, people don't understand how hard. Like the question you have to answer if you're a general manager is kind of like, okay, I had all these offers for Derek Carr. I had more than a first round pick. Teams were calling me and offering a first round pick plus more for Derek Carr. Okay.
When you were there?
When I was there.
Okay.
However, I had to look John Gruden or Rich Bisaccia in the eye and say, hey, I'm going to go get a first round pick and a third and this and that. And they go, yeah, that's fine. But who's our quarterback? Who's taking snaps? What's the answer? And if you can't guarantee that I'm going to go get so-and-so from certain college next year at number 1 or 2 in the draft, really good quarterbacks rarely hit free agency. They ended up with, Gardner Minshew, who is kind of just a second or third tier kind of guy. And he's just he's tough. He's fun to watch, but he's not overtly talented.
Right.
So if you're Devonte Adams, you're probably looking there and you're going, oh man, I love Max Crosby and I love Antonio Pierce, but who's going to throw me the football? Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew? So I don't know whether they had any. There's all these rumors out there that they had a conversation prior to the year where Antonio Pierce said, hey, hang in with me. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how you just hang in, be a Raider. And I'm guessing, I don't know if that happened or not, but I'm guessing Davante is kind of like, there's nobody to throw me the football. I'm 30 some years old. I got 2 or 3 good years left. I got to get out of here.
Okay. And what do you think is his priority in terms of where he would want to go? Is it a team that could win? Is it a team with a quarterback he wants? Is it money? What do you think it is?
I think it's the first two.
I forget what I said.
Money always matters, right? But I think he wants to. If I'm him, I want to go to a team with a high-level quarterback that has a real good chance to win. And in the NFL, if you have a high-level quarterback,
hand in hand,
you have a good chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot of conversations about going back with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets or going with Derek Carr and the Saints. And I get all that. There's a comfort level with him with both those quarterbacks that he's going to see the ball a lot. The Jets have a really good defense right now, and they're struggling a little bit on offense. But I mean, I look for fits. What's a good fit out there? I mean, I don't think they're going to trade him to Kansas City in their division, but Buffalo to me is really logical. I mean, Buffalo has one of the best 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen. They're 3-1. They've got a chance to win everything. Okay. If I'm Brandon Beane, the GM in Buffalo, I'm taking a hard look at that deal.
And he isn't afraid of the cold. He was in Green Bay for a long time, so.
Yep. Yeah. No, you're 100% right, and he's still a great wideout. Supposedly the Raiders want a second-round pick plus additional compensation. And the biggest issue there, Leigh, just again, put your GM hat on, is he has 1 year left after this year but it's at like $35 million not guaranteed. Nobody's going to pay him 35. So if you're Brandon Beane or anybody else that's going to go up a second-round pick plus more current players, more draft picks, whatever, you don't want to just rent him for 12 games in the playoffs. Or can you get his agent? What I'd be trying to figure out is, what do I have to give up? And can I get the Raiders to allow me to have a couple days to try and put a deal together with his agent, so I'm guaranteed that we've got him for a couple more years beyond this year.
Okay, interesting. When's the trade deadline?
Not till sometime in November, I believe.
Okay, so there's some time. So we're probably talking about this for a minute.
Well, no, I think if you're another team, you want to get that receiver in your building as fast as possible because
Absolutely.
you want him to make a difference. And if you're the Raiders, And whether or not he's got a hamstring injury or not,
Yeah.
a quote hamstring injury,
Right.
who knows? But if you're the Raiders, you don't want this lingering either. So I actually do think something will happen by next week.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Speaking of the Raiders, though, I have to tell you, there's this fan base ranking going on around social media. I guess there was a poll taken. I don't know who did the poll. I don't know who voted. It's a top 10 ranking of the worst fan base, and worse, the stipulations for that means curses the most and overall rudest.
Yeah.
And this is going to blow your mind. Number 1 was the Raiders.
Wow.
Where do you think the Eagles landed in the top 10?
Well, people kill. I mean, I love the Eagles fan base, but
I know, and that's part of
people kill them. So I would imagine it's 2.
Guess what?
What?
Not even in the top 10.
maybe people realize the Eagles fan base is pretty passionate and pretty cool.
That's what you think?
Well, it didn't land in the worst 10, right?
I'm just blown away. All I hear about is how rude. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. Their kids give people the middle finger, and now we're not even number 1. The Eagles should be number 1. The Raiders should absolutely be number 2. And I feel like I'm an expert in this category. So I stand by that wholeheartedly. And when I say that, I truly do mean that 1 and 2 ranking as a compliment.
Yeah, I see it. I see it a little differently because I took you and Michael to a game when you were little kids, and I walked through
at the vet.
Yeah, no, at the link, and I walked you through the parking lot, and it was awful with people. Some of the things people were yelling and screaming, and the words, not to you guys, but just, and there was something going on. So there's a negative aspect of I love the Philadelphia fan base. And what I always say is that 98% of them are amazing, but our 2% are probably the worst. And that day when we walked through the parking lot, I said, I'm not taking you back to another one because I didn't want my, 9-year-old daughter and 7-year-old son exposed to a bunch of, I think we went through a bad area of the parking lot, but anyway.
Well, there are bad areas in every parking lot. It's fine.
No, I hear you, but our 2% can get bad. That's all I'm saying, and I'm not proud. I'm not proud of that part of it. I think
I'm not. And I don't think I'm talking about that part.
The 98% are awesome,
and apparently the rudest and the most cursing. But
anyway.
What are you doing the rest of this week?
What am I doing? I'm watching a lot of college tape because I've got to write reports on college players. So every morning I'm watching a bunch of college tape. I'm doing physio on my hip.
Oh, yeah, your hip. People have been asking how you're doing. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm working out every day and starting to swing a golf club. And later today, I already did 5 hours of tape today. So later today, I'm going to go work out, and I'm allowed 30 full swings today. So I'm going to go to the driving range. Yeah, 30 full swings.
Oh,
so
that's a big day.
I'm getting close to being full speed. Yeah.
Well, as you're recovering from your injury, I find it a little bit, speaking of rude, that you haven't asked me about my broken bone.
Well, you've sent me enough pictures in the last 48 hours that I feel like I'm up to date.
You guys, I need you to know, I broke my toe on Sunday. It's been really hard dealing with it. It's so ugly. It's purple. Not only is it's the baby toe, poor little thing. It's black and blue, and so is my foot. And the way I did it is just also really depressing. I clean my sheets on Sunday and do like laundry and cleaning, whatever. And I was trying to put the fitted sheet on the bed by myself. So I was kind of doing like a flying squirrel technique with the sheet. And I jumped up and I tried to like throw the sheet, and I stubbed my toe so hard into the side of the bed, and now it's broken. So please everyone check in on me. Leave comments if you've broken your toes before, and let me know what I should do. I've been trying to use the buddy tape system where you tape it to the next one and it acts as a splint. Hasn't really been working for me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but yeah, if you have any tips or tricks, please let me know.
I wish I had timed that.
What, are you tired of hearing about this?
Well, I've gotten a lot of pictures. I know what's going on, and I just spent another 2 minutes of my life hearing about your little.
You're getting all the pictures of it because I've asked a couple of people if like they want to see it or if they would, and they say no.
Like it's a little. You broke your little toe. Let's deal with it and move on. We're good.
But the bruising is crazy, and I just
I
want
know
people
it
to
is.
know what I'm going through. Okay.
You've sent me the bruising. I've seen it.
I know. Okay. Well, hopefully the Eagles' bruises and issues will all come together after this bye, and we'll have a lot more happy things to talk about next week.
Last thing on that. Last thing. Their schedule. We talked about the bye week and everything. The timing is so good. Their schedule, the next 4 games, really favorable. They play Cleveland, at the New York Giants, at Cincinnati, and Jacksonville. Those 4 teams currently are 3-13 combined.
Okay.
So if you're the Eagles, you got to win at least 3 out of the next 4, and now you're rolling again. So this coming out of this bye, you got to play better football, and you got to take advantage of playing teams that are struggling more than the Eagles are right now.
And not make the mistake and play down to them, as
Correct.
That can happen.
Yeah, yes.
Well, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, thanks, Dad. I will send you updates on my bruising later.
Good luck with your little booby.
Thanks. Love you.
You too.
Bye.